We move on now to the Motul Caterham 7 270R Championship, which is being led by our pole sitter, Blair McConaughey, who won from pole yesterday. Blair, you're in a close championship battle with Carl Jones, just 7 points separating you. Does it give you a bit more confidence as he's starting from fourth, so he's not right on your tail?
Absolutely not, because you can fight your way through so easily here. The toe in the back straight strong. Fourth means nothing. He'll get through. We'll be battling as a bunch, I'm sure, for most of the race, so there'll be plenty of position changes. I would need him, even if he was mid-pack, even last, I think he would get his way through. So,
well, you're being released, so I shan't delay you. Best of luck, Blair. With one hand already on the championship, his arch rival starts from fourth, but with the weather now clearing up, that should really help Blair get underway. He's going to have to fight very hard for it. I'll throw it back to Scott Woodward in the commentary box.
Thank you, Chris. We're still trying to catch our breath after that thrilling conclusion to the Love Cars Caterham Academy Green Group title. We just saw provisionally Jeff Newman crowned as the 2021 champion by virtue of winning and getting the fastest lap of the race, which he needed to do, but stealing it on the last lap of the race, which is pretty sensational. So we now move on to the Motul Caterham 7 270R Championship. This is the middle ground, the third middle step, the third point in the Caterham Motorsport ladder. This is what signals the coming of age championship for many people, where these cars are since you start off as the original Academy cars, they get all the upgrades from Road Sport, where they have the A1ZZS tyres and the rear anti-roll bars. The biggest changes, though, is they have stiffer springs and dampers, a wider front track suspension, and compared to the Road Sport and Academy cars, for racing, they have their windscreens and their headlights removed to give a bit more of a race car look and feel. So these cars now also have a little bit of a power increase as well. They have 135 brake horsepower compared to the 125 in the Road Sport and Academy cars, and they weigh about 10 kilograms lighter as well, and have an increased rev limit to 7200. So here's the grid then. Blair McConaughey, championship leader, who won yesterday, starts on pole alongside Stephen Lyle on the front row of the grid. Harry Eyre and Carl Jones start on the second row alongside Oliver Smith and Alan Curtis on row 3, start 5th and 6th. It's 7th place for David on the grid for David Morgan alongside Tim Steele, who will start in 8th. And then rounding up the top 10 is Dan Clayfam and Chris Ephraimidis, who's had a decent season so far and looks to do well, starting up in 10th. Row 6 sees Paul Herndon start in 11th spot alongside Brian Errol, who will put himself from 12th on the 6th row of the grid. Row 7 will see Darryl Cresswell in car number 8. Alongside him is Fraser Jones in car 14. Then we move down to row 8, where we see James Cameron and John Cox. And there's the cars head off onto their formation lap in the background. The rest of the grid is formed up by Peter Wales and Roger Gaunt. And then as we round off the final few cars on the grid with Michael Curley and Richard Hoare, who starts at the bottom of the top 20, followed by Dimitris Malas, who I hope is on that grid because he had quite a nasty accident at the end of the first race yesterday, and hopefully if that car has or hasn't been rebuilt, if it hasn't been rebuilt, that's a shame, but if it has, then kudos to everyone who's been involved to help that out. He starts alongside Nick Allbones if he's on the grid. Wes Payne's also got some work to do from 23rd on the grid, as is also Stefano Mara, then Duncan Cook and Angus McLean, who also retired early on. We'll round off the 13th row of the grid and the 26 car starting grid for this second race of the weekend. So 3 races to go in the 270R Championship. And Blair McConaughey, who has been the bridesmaid twice before in previous steps, both in the Academy and in Road Sport, is now in quite prime position, there he is, to go ahead and pick up a title of his own in 270Rs. And Chris, I'm pretty certain that given how hard he's worked so far this year, it's not going to be easy, of course, again with these guys giving him trouble, but we want to keep on pushing and try and make up and try and replicate what he did yesterday, which is another win, another solid set of points to take him to Cadwell Park to give him the best possible chance of securing that title in Lincolnshire in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah,
he's had a fantastic season so far, hasn't he? So he definitely will be looking to continue that. But we've got Stephen Lyle there in second place, who's obviously going to be really thirsty and ready for that win. He had a double win at Croft, which we saw a few weeks back, so he'll be ready to do that. And Carl Jones never gives them all an easy run, and he's down in 4th place at the moment, so he'll be looking to improve back through. We saw him absolutely involved in that lead high-speed battle for the early part of that race. Harry Eyre has been there all season and was again there all yesterday, so he's certainly going to be looked to throw interference. But out front, it was Stephen Lyle with Blair McConaughey sort of had a little bit of a comfortable gap right at the end of that race yesterday, and whether he will be able to run off into the distance again, but it's so unlikely. It's unlike Caterham racing, and it's unlikely it's going to happen twice in a row, but he will certainly be working really hard to make that happen. The rest of the field is a really nice, a large field here with the 270 grid. Brilliant to see, and hopefully, even when we're coming down to the tail end of this season, we'll see them all back ready in their upgraded 310Rs, and we're going to see some 310R racing action later. But given the health of this field, it'd be really good to see that all flow through into the next championship season as well. But first things first, we've got to see whether Blair can make that happen this season.
Definitely so, particularly 3 races to go and 3 maximum sets of score set to come in. It's going to be quite crucial for Blair to keep on scoring high and to keep himself at the front of the field in order to make sure that he can go to Cadwell Park essentially with just about one hand on the trophy to be able to pick it up, as of course he's been quite dominant coming into the weekend. When he came into the weekend, he had a 19-point lead over Carl Jones in second place on drop scores, and just a further 5 points back on drops was Harry Eyre. So all the work was having to be done by Carl and Harry to try and take points off of Blair, but the fact that Blair was able to win meant he only extended his lead even further as a result of that. So all the work now and all the pressure is on this. Well, there's equal amounts of pressure on Blair to try and maintain the gap and to keep out of trouble, but also for Carl and Harry to keep on applying that pressure and to try and take points and results off of Blair to keep them in contention. We're going in the final 2 races that's left, and they've got to do that, try and do what they can here to try and stop Blair within reason from getting a good result. Otherwise, it's going to make it very difficult when they go to Lincolnshire in a couple of weeks' time to try and stop Blair from taking the title, possibly even in the first race.
Like you say, there's so many different scenarios, but the best scenario for Blair is to keep winning, keep setting those fastest laps. But nevertheless, he's got so many people chomping at his rear to do. Even if they're not in the championship battle, ultimately they still want those wins. People are absolutely desperate for him. As the sort of midfield now forming up, we see those yellow flags starting to be removed. The tension mounts, and let's see whether Blair can get off the line. He got off the line brilliantly yesterday. Let's see whether he can do the same again today.
So Blair in the white and black car on the left, the grey and orange car Stephen Lyle on the right. Just behind Stephen Lyle's car is the car in third. They put it the Team Lotus coloured green and yellow car of Harry Eyre, and then Carl Jones on the right, the black and green car starting from fourth on the grid. They're the 4 you want to watch, but also keep an eye on Oliver Smith. He had one of his best results of the season yesterday in Fit P5. Surprised quite a lot of people. Could do so today. Right, 5-second board is up. The second Motel Caterham 7 270R Championship race off the weekend, all set to get underway. Can it be a double for Blair McConaughey? Not with a start like that, it won't be. Not a good start for the pole sitter, and also Stephen Lyle either. But Carl Jones got a good jump for the second row also, and Carl Jones from the outside of the second row from fourth on the grid is going to charge down towards turn 1 down the outside. Will be 3 abreast into turn 1, and looks like possibly it was. I think Stephen Lyle managed to get his nose in front and hold on to a lead. It looks like maybe McConaughey in second and Jones in third. They head down towards the hairpin for the first time. It's going to be Lyle and Jones side by side for Willie. McConaughey's down to third, but then tries to re-attack Carl Jones for second as they go through the Wilson hairpin. So battling further back, we see that's Darryl Cresswell having a chat with the recovering Angus McLean, who's running as an invitation driver this season. So he's only doing a couple of rounds to jump in and have fun. It's a half an hour race, so quite a long time for the Caterham races to get on, but that means plenty of action, plenty of time for these guys to sort themselves out. Down to Agostini for the first time. It's then Lyle from Jones, from McConaughey, then Eyre, and then also in there too, not far away, is Alan Curtis. Remember, Alan, of course, was a sensation yesterday because we had 2 starts, one for a red flag and then the second one. On the first start, he didn't actually get away too well. The second start, he nailed it and was up there in the leading pack. And he was in the leading pack for the entire race and managed to get himself into that 6th position. So
Yeah, I don't think Alan would mind me saying it was a bit of a surprise to see him there right on the front row of the grid starting yesterday. But yeah, he absolutely sort of proved that he deserved to be there, and it wasn't just a complete fluke. He was absolutely involved in that battle, really involved right until the last corner of the last lap. So yeah, absolutely brilliant performance by Alan, and maybe he can look to improve on that 6th place today. Yeah.
Got Nick Allbones and Angus McLean going side by side, and McLean trying to make it through as Carl Jones squeezes in front of Stephen Lyle, as does also Blair McConaughey. So Jones takes the lead before the end of the first lap into the complex. Blair McConaughey in second, Lyle third, Eyre fourth, Curtis fifth, Oliver Smith in 6th position. Then you've got 7th and 8th for looks like Dan Clayfan and possibly maybe David Morgan, I think. And also a quick starter. We need to watch out for Wes Payne, because I think he's inside the top half of the field now after he started in 23rd position. So watch out for him in the kind of pearlescent coloured number 38 car. It looks kind of pink and the pedestrian colouring on the light makes it either look pink or light blue or purpley, but watch out for that car towards the looks like the mid-pack now as it charges through, because he's been a perennial part of the lead group all season. Dropped out of it with a couple of mishaps. He was quite spectacular yesterday, but to his detriment lost a few positions and had to start back in 23rd as a result of that.
He's been spectacular all year. I took my eyes off the screen for 2 seconds, and last time I looked there was in third. Now he's in the lead with the two behind him sort of switched around, and he's even managed to pull a little bit of a gap there, 0.6 of a second. Not an easy thing to do in a single lap. So Blair McConaughey moving the back there. But yes, let's follow Wes Payne. You can just see him going through the screen there. See how far up he can make it in this race.
So I think he's now on the back of Tim Steele. He's now 11th place behind Tim, so he's on the cusp of the top 10. So he's just got past Fraser Jones and Chris Ephraimidis. So his next targets are Tim Steele, then Ryan Errol, and then it'll be the pair of David Morgan and Dan Clayfan, who are just loosely on the back of these cars here in 7th and 8th. So watch out for them. Dan Clayfan, David Morgan. But now it's to come down towards the Agostini hairpin. Blair McConaughey back in the lead. Lyle in second, Jones third now. It's Air fourth, then Curtis, Smith, then Clayfan and Morgan. Then you've got Ryan Errol and then Tim Steele. Then there's Wes Payne there, car 38, the kind of multicoloured, almost like rainbow pearlescent coloured car. That's the paint scheme on that machine, number 38. Now, he retired from the race yesterday, but he was quite high in that pack and battling amongst it. Had a couple of spectacular moments, getting sideways and all over and all crossed up everywhere, but that we nicknamed him Mad Max rather than Wes Payne. But
we saw him doing a full drift around the whole of Caterham, didn't we, including a bit of the grass there just to keep us on the edge of our toes. But unfortunately, yes, he did have to stop a bit later, but he's already at the back of this top 10, and not only that, there are no big gaps appearing, so he is fully in the mix for this race. He could actually do one of those rear to the front moves. It's brilliant.
And the key thing is also as well, he's got time, 26 minutes to go. There's only 4 minutes gone in the race, only on the second lap as Stephen Lyle retakes the lead from Blair McConaughey into the complex. McConaughey thumps the curb in response, but he's got plenty of time to do it. He's in that group, it's all tied together as you can see, and also you might want to try and follow Ryan Errol, who's on the back of David Morgan now that he's falling away from Dan Clayfan, so there's a real chance for him to try and get involved here. Just also looking at the circuit there, looks like those areas of the outside line of the bomb hole have started to dry up a bit more, which means that there's a bit more grip on the outside line if he needs it. Now out of the left-hander at Murray's and now down the short straight towards Richards again, end of the second lap. So Lyle leads the way, McConaughey second, Jones third and Air fourth. There's the top four together.
Slightly calmer up front with Stephen Lyle there for the fastest lap, 2:14.7. Slightly calmer out front early doors in this race compared to yesterday's race, but it's like a developing scenario, isn't it? You know, they're very much all still in a row, and everything can change. We've seen that gaps appear and then evaporate before your very eyes.
So there is Wes Payne. He's got past Tim Steele. His next target's David Morgan. I think he's been overhauled by Ryan Errol, so that will put him into the top. So he's into 9th now. If he can pass Morgan, he'll put him into 8th. So that's one to watch out for. Oh no, actually we lost. No, Ryan Errol's dropped down. He's 14th now. So looks like a mistake for Ryan. Has pushed him down to 14th position. So that was simply Wayne just catching up to David Morgan to try and pass him now as he goes through the hairpin. Side by side for the lead. Diving up the inside looks Blair McConaughey. Last of the late breakers. Just squeezed him out wide a little bit on the apex of the corner there, and now he's going to try and stay over the inside line if he can. Completes the move and gets back into the lead. So there's the top 6 all in line. There's Wes Payne. He's got past David Morgan, although Morgan's now back to his inside on the run toward Hamilton. So maybe there might be a repass there from Morgan if Wes isn't careful.
Hamilton's not an easy place to overskate though, Scott. Even if you've got a full alongside, it's not somewhere you really want to go side by side. It just ends up costing you time. I was speaking to Blair in the paddock yesterday. He's such a calm and collected character. There's no sign of nerves, and you see that kind of character coming out in his driving as well. It's always very calm and well measured.
Yeah, I think the only time he wasn't calm in the paddock on track was when Tom Willis was around. We're trying to scupper his chance of winning a title. Here's Tim Steele battling Chris Ephraimidis along with Fraser Jones and Peter Wales. Meanwhile, look at this. Harriet's come from nowhere. Carl Jones has been shuffled down to 4th. Now Harriet goes to 3rd. Looks for 2nd on the inside of McConaughey as Lyle continues to lead. Now they come out of the complex of Brundle and Nelson, back towards the bomb hole again. Through the apex, they run through the compression. 5th place now for Alan Curtis. He's now on the back of Carl Jones, but swift move from Harriet now. He's bided his time for the first couple of laps. Now he's starting to get into his groove and make a move now. He wants to be in the factor of this, particularly when he is one of the main contenders for Blair's championship. He needs to try and take as many points as he can off him. At the moment, Blair's ahead of both of his main rivals, where he needs to try and push him down the pack to keep it in contention and keep it competitive for Cadwell.
A couple of times this year he's dropped back down through the field and had to fight his way back through, but he has proven to be absolutely the fastest guy at many times. Wes Payne there setting the fastest lap, but Harry Eyre did briefly have that for a split second there, but Wes Payne now setting the fastest lap, but he's had to pull back through the field, so he's used to go those battles, and like I say, he's been able to generate speed out of that car and sometimes been the fastest guy out there, just hasn't managed to pull off.
Oh, contact! Contact, that's Carl Jones into the back of Harry Eyre just to finish that point. So sorry about that, Chris, but literally in the top four altogether, and it was literally Carl Jones biffing the rear of Harry Eyre's car. That will have damaged the front nose section of Carl Jones's car, so it won't help his aerodynamics. I think also I saw a Caterham stop there. That was a green car. I don't think it was Ryan Errol, but because he came across the line last time in 14th place, so it was just... Yeah, but there might be somebody else possibly further back that might have stopped. So usually have a look on my timing screen and see if there's anyone that didn't come through that's showing us a exclamation mark. It could be James Cameron because he's in the factory green and grey Caterham car, so it might be him that stopped, unfortunately. So we've also lost whilst we're looking at this. I think it was Nick Allbones we've lost, and Roger Gaunt, so sadly they're out of the race at this point. Looking back at the leaders now, and it's still McConaughey now ahead of Lars. He's retaken the lead. Harry Eyre still survived third place. Sands a left rear wing now. Right, now there's Wes Payne. He's got past Oliver Smith now, so he's up into, that will be 7th place. And I think Dan Clayfan went through first. So Dan Clayfan and Oliver Smith have both gone through. Clayfan's also passed Alan Curtis, although Smith's not done here. He's going to try and get back through here. Side by side for Believe Me while up front. Here comes McConaughey. Lar goes around the outside defending. Side by side also for 7th, but Payne shrugs off the attack from Oliver and looks back onto the rear tail of Alan Curtis, and Dan Clayfan there looking down and having a quick look at his mirror, wondering where Alan Curtis and also importantly where's Payne and co are. He'll twitch there from Oliver Smith of oversteer, but he holds on. And now this is essentially the second half of this leading group as they turn in through the left-hander. Jones has dropped back a little bit, but Harry Eyre's looking pretty racy. And like I said, by this time, they've got the first couple of laps out of the way, settled in, got his tyres up to temperature, found his rhythm, now he's getting ready to attack.
There wasn't there, but yeah, he looks like he might well be making a move. He's going down the inside of Blair going into this corner. The outside line, you can carry that momentum and sweep across. It does look like that Blair will be able to do that. Interestingly, a couple of times into Senna and Brundle now, Lyle has not sort of given up on that position, so he's not in that mindset of I'm going to let you go. He's absolutely in that mindset of I want to be out front in this race, and I want to do what Blair did yesterday, which was let you two battle behind me, and I'll scoot off into the distance. Thank you very much.
So like we said yesterday, the harder they fight each other, easier it is for like Stephen Lyle, the cars in front, to make a break. So that's the key thing there. That's Nick Allbones, who I thought we'd said stopped, but he's actually carried on going. So looks like we've only just lost James Cameron and Roger Gaunt as a result of that. Lyle looking for his third win in 4 races after he took the double at Croft and then just missed out on the win yesterday. So if he can get another victory, that will certainly help him out points wise and certainly put him in good stead if he sticks around for next year. McConaughey then just on his rear roll cage with Harry Eyre in close pursuit. That's for Wes Payne. He's up to 6th now. He's got past Alan Curtis. His next target is going to be getting past Dan Clayfan. Oops, off the road's gone 27. That's Chris Ephraimidis. Now, he was in 10th position. He was battling with the likes of Tim Steele and Peter Wells, etc. So I'm suspecting, given the fact there is a rear wing missing, there's been some shenanigans down at the hairpin.
We love a shenanigans every now and again, don't we, as long as it all ends well in the end. Yeah, so kind of a sizable gap there developed from the lead group, as we've kind of seen a couple of times this season, to this mid-pack, but the mid-pack is equally, hard and fast racing going on here. They are nose to tail again, trying to find out who's going to be the best of the rest.
Speaking of the groups, the lead group seems to have broken up just a little bit now. They're starting to spread out a bit more on this. Now we've gone past the 3rd distance in this race. And here goes that mighty mid-pack. Look at them all packed together. So trying to work out who's in it is quite tricky. We've got Ryan Errol's in there, Tim Steele, Darrell Cresswell's in there as well. They're all swarming amongst each other. Also in there too, I think that is 61, sorry, actually. No, 52, forgive me. So it's Peter Wales. So Peter Wales is in there. I think he's had a new nose section because there's no nose number on that car. So
he damaged his nose cone and he had bad damage to the rear of his car yesterday. You can see the rear panel definitely looking a little bit worse for wear and is flapping around with his bodywork. Blair McConaughey there setting the fastest lap now with a 2:12. So the track is really starting to come back on form now. So where all those damp patches were earlier, you really can now properly lean on your tyres.
Yeah, where it might go a little bit wet and possibly even just possibly got rid of a little bit of some of the surface rubber on there, because it was starting to not wash it away because it wasn't dramatically wet, but at least possibly get rid of some of that grip. It's now starting to help. Now it's fully dried up again, start laying down that rubber once more to get that circuit back to being a bit more tracker. The slight range was kind of made the circuit a bit greener, whereas now it's helped to kind of rubber it in and get a bit more grip down, which is certainly helping out in terms of lap times. Now it's becoming a bit more fully dry. So here is Ryan Errol, who's got past Angus McLean. Angus will try and repass him. Back with our leaders.
McConaughey out front.
It's McConaughey, yeah, from Lyle, and then Harry Eyre in third place, with Jones fourth, and Wes Payne is now up to P5, so he has now passed Dan Clayfan. He's passed, picking them off one by one. He's got more than half the race to go, so absolutely, we talked him up earlier on. There is absolutely every chance if he carries on at this pace in these in clear air for relatively enough, and if he can pretty much pick off Carl Jones in relatively quick succession, there's every chance he could catch up to the top three and make it a leading quartet and really push himself in for contention.
Yeah, definitely. Let's keep an eye on. So he's got a nice opportunity now to set some really good, clean, consistent laps, because he's got a car in front of him who will give him that tow, give him that extra speed, and he's just got to hope that that little gap that's going out to the top three there doesn't go too far. But Jones and Payne are definitely fast enough as a duo to leapfrog each other back to that front group. So, and 17 minutes to go. You know, we've just been watching an academy race which is only 20 minutes. You only really have a sort of a middle and an end phase of an academy race, but with the full 30 minutes that we're getting with the 270s here, you get a beginning phase, and then you get the middle, the settled in phase, and then at the end everything sort of kicks off again. But it looks like is that Blair behind Harry Eyre there? So last time we looked at Blair, he was in first place, and now he's down in third, with Lyle back in the lead with Eyre in second. So
that must have been a switch around on the Bentley straight, so all three of them have got quite close together in the slipstream. So Lyle moves his way back in front, it's Eyre manoeuvres himself back into second, and Blair McConaughey in third place, trying to hold on in tow to come back down the pit straight. Side by side for the lead, there goes Harry Eyre taking his turn in front. He also takes, momentarily the fastest, he took the fastest lap of the race just after Stephen Lyle took it himself, so the fastest lap is now 2 minutes 12.5, and the gap across the line was a mere 0.08 of a second between the two of them, as that's how close it was. So where's Payne? I want to tab on his lap times. He was a full about 0.6 quicker than Carl Jones last time, so he's actually closing in pretty quickly. Side by side off the Wilson hairpin for the lead again. Oh, that's takes some clearing up. That's Stefano Mara's front nose section hanging off and rubbing on the ground, so that's going to need either dislodging or have to fall off itself, or otherwise you might get a black and orange mechanical flag for that from the stewards. It might be deemed potentially a bit of unsafe bodywork that flies off the car. Three for the lead into the hairpin at D'Agostini, with Carl Jones and the charging Wes Payne in tow. Out of the hairpin they go, and now the short straight towards Hamilton again. This is lap 7 of this 30-minute race, but coming up to about half distance now. We're just 30 seconds away from hitting half distance exactly, and Lyle has the advantage, as we said, looking for his third win in 4 races after he took the pair at Croft.
But Jones and Payne definitely look like they're going to come across that gap. They were absolutely, with these still fighting going on at the front here, that gap looks to be reducing. You can see there Jones is nearly back on the back of McConaughey, and Payne is not too far back from that.
And Payne is lapping quicker than Jones, so unless Jones gets the benefit from the 3 cars giving a tow in front, Payne's using all that clear air pace that he's got to close back in and to really put himself into that leading group. So essentially Wes Payne is arguably one of, if not the man to watch out for at the moment, because given his pace right now, he's lapping on essentially the same pace roughly as the lead, as the cars, 3 cars immediately in front of Carl. So he needs to keep on pushing to try and get himself towards that pack pretty soon.
I wonder if there's anything going through Blair's mind around sort of championship protection. He's obviously in a fairly comfortable position in that championship. Things can swing very quickly, but he's certainly got that nose cone actually now rubbing on the front wheel of that Caterham. You've got to hope that that's not going to cause a puncture as well. And they're kind of heavy bits of equipment, those nose cones, so we don't want that flying across the track. So he's got a couple sort of a double issue there with a bit of rubbing on his front tyre and also on the floor. So it's not ideal. It's really slowing him down as well, Scott.
Leaders back across the lines. We watch the Bartok watch window, and the fast lap changes twice. First to Carl Jones, then to Wes Payne. So he is literally the fastest man out of the top 5 at the moment, and the gap between the top 5 is now under 2 seconds across the board. So looking pretty tasty between those top 5 drivers. We're looking back at that incredible, massive midfield pack battle, which is led currently by Tim Steele. Across the line they all go. They'll start to spread out a bit more, either into on themselves. Stefano Mara's nose cone is still it's not a nose cone that's dragging, it's something.
It's just
the nose cone and the angle it's at is rubbing against the tyre, so he's going to have to kind of come off itself, or he will get flagged for that, being the fact it could be a possible bit of body work that could fly up and cause danger to somebody else if it doesn't either get taken off by its own accord, or he doesn't pull in and get the car and get it removed by someone as part of his team. So 13 and a half, just under 13 and a half minutes to go now as we come back towards the pack. We've got here, that is Brian Errol and Angus McLean, who are still battling over 10th position. There's Darren Cresswell in 12th place, and that's Wales and Steele at the head of this big midfield pack as they're battling among. And Fraser Jones, who again, like I said yesterday, I'm surprised he's not higher up, because Fraser usually is quite a regular sort of one that's around up at a strong top 10 finish or so, but not really enjoying Snetterton this weekend, down in 15th and looking pretty stuck down the mid-pack.
Yeah, the Snetterton circuit's not going to be on his Christmas list this year, is it? He's not been given the presents that he has in other places. So, yeah. Like we said yesterday, it happens. You don't click, you have a bad run of form, and once you're stuck in this middle battle, you've seen how intense the battles are all the way down the field. It's not just matter of fact to get through. That's why it's more impressive that Wes Payne has done what he's done there. So overall, we all have those off-race weekends where it just doesn't click for whatever reason, and this is just one for him.
So, speaking of clicking, everything seems to be clicking into place, particularly for Wes Payne, because he's now has got past Carl Jones, and look where he is, right on the tail of the top three. So now he's inside that leading pack now. He's going to start getting his elbows out and says, excuse me, boys, make it 4 players to relieve rather than 3. So here he comes then. You might have Carl Jones give you a bit of a push down the pit straight. Down the pit straight they go, and he's the only man number 2 minutes 12. Is down the inside looking with a big move into Richie's corner. Goes Stephen Lyle. McConaughey just gives him enough room as he tries to turn in, but they don't go too deep, and up the inside straight past both goes Harry Eyre. Also we see Carl Jones trying to go around the outside of Wes Payne behind them, so it's all action stations in one corner for the top 5.
Yeah, perfect example of where you might win the battle but you don't win the war. He gained a position going in there on Blair McConaughey, but Harry was sat there ready to pick up the pieces, and he did that. He just took that extra momentum through that final course. I was going to say, Carl Jones, if I was him, I might sit on Wes Payne's tail and coat and just absolutely get myself pulled along to this league group, by up to the front. But I don't know anything about Caterham racing. It all changed and he went straight by anyway. They're all looking like they're desperate to be in that front to do what Blair's done before. We saw Blair at Croft come back from all the way through the field, all the way up to what ended up being 4th, but it looked like it might even be the win, and it looks like Wes Payne wants to do one better here, and he was 4th place last time we went over the line, 5th place currently, but he's certainly in the chance with still 11 minutes to go to actually come away with this win.
There's a very good chance he could get involved in that, particularly now in that league group, and anything could happen. As we know with Caterham Racing, talked about it yesterday, but the worst, ironically, the worst place you want to be in a Caterham race on a circuit like this is, again, it sounds a bit, it does a bit, so it gives it a white where you don't want to be there, but it's in the lead at the last corner on the last lap on the sprint to a line, because we know these cars are great in the slipstream and cause quite a large effect and get quite a large toe on them. Because you get a long straight, there's no guarantee that when you exit the corner in the lead that you'll stay there by the time you get there. It either needs a good drive on your part or a mistake for the driver behind, or being too far back to stop them and try and make it through. And
it's not just like Snetterton has one long straight, is it? It's got 3 really long and toe-worthy sort of straights on it, and we see that you have to work out where do I want to be, and then you have to manufacture that to be the case. But we haven't seen every single situation coming out this last corner where the person in second has overtaken. So it's a real 50-50 scenario. The line is in the perfect position to make it really up in the air. And so we see Harry Eyre there actually getting his time for a time over the line in first place. And he's still in those 12s, isn't he, where everyone else was in the 13s at that time round. So, but again, that gap immediately evaporates as we come up the start-finish straight. And it's gone again, and he's lost that lead straight away into turn 1. You can't look away for a second. But Wes Payne there maybe taking a little bit of a breather. He's lost some of that momentum he used to actually get him to that front group. But maybe taking a bit of a breather here, giving his tyres a rest and giving everything cool off, ready to then strike another battle in this, coming into this final phase of the race.
Yeah, Wes Payne trying to come back and Carl Jones to get 4th, but it's nice. It was a really nice move diving up the inside from Blair to retake the lead from Harry Eyre as they came down to Richie's corner. So the championship leader back in front. Just about 9 minutes to go now as they come onto this into the final third of the race, and Wes Payne's just trying to go on the attack again. Looking, just peeking to the outside of Carl Jones. He's forced to go to the inside line to defend from the 38 car behind. Out of the hairpin, there's top 5 from Wes Payne, all over the curb on the exit. No wonder we called him Mad Max yesterday. In through the left-hander at Hamilton. Still Eyre from Lyle in second and third, and it's Carl Jones 4th, Payne 5th. Got the top 5 all in shot there as they turn in through Ockey's. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, this is Tim Steele, who's still battling with Fraser Jones. Fraser then, this is now over 12th and 13th place, so that's Fraser back down to 13th and Tim Scott back past ahead of him. Now down this back straight goes Wes and Co. Again, he'll have the toe, but so will also Harry and Stephen on Blair. We'll see the camera switch back again. We'll see Harry Air looking to the outside line, Stephen Lars watching on, so looks as though I think that Harry Air managed to get not only a good run down the back straight getting past Stephen Lyle, but also then charge past Blair McConaughey. He's got a small kind of half a car length or so to get past. Carl Jones runs wide on the exit of Nelson to keep hold of 4th. This is 6th, 7th and 8th downwards now. This is Alan Curtis, Dan Clayfan, also Oliver Smith and David Morgan. These are the guys who were sort of in and around that sort of lead group initially, but now fallen back to create their own pack for best of the rest from P6 downwards. So they're having their own little private battle. Alan Curtis again having a great run so far, holding on to 6th place.
Yeah, absolutely, and doing a perfect job. And like you say, it's like their own little mini battle between themselves, but they have the same issues. When they're out front, they're open. Who are absolutely rapidly moving through. It's kind of when Wes Payne came through, he acted as disturbance and everything sort of bubbled apart. But yeah, Alan Curtis, brilliant to see him still up there in 6th place.
So looking for the switch back there was Harry. Yeah, that was quite a rotation. I saw the car, whether he just nailed the throttle or just kind of just tweaked the rear brake bias a little bit to try and just swing the car back around again. But that was quite a rotation around the hairpin to get him to get the car round and back out again. So classy stuff there from Harry. Side by side, Chris Ephraimidis, who's on a bit of a recovery trail after his little spin earlier, having a scrap with Fraser Jones. This is over 12th to 13th and 14th place. As you go back to our leaders, and Wes Payne's charge seems to have pretty much come to a halt at this lead group now. So he was trying to get past Carl Jones, but Carl's acting like a bit of a roadblock here in terms of potentially, unless he can get around him and stay in front of him and get onto that tail of the top 3 to get right in amongst the top 3 drivers. At the moment, 5th is as high as he'll go, but if he can get past and try and keep the car 3 guys in front, what he ideally needs is the top 3 to start carrying on battling as hard as they are in order to try and make this possibility of getting past to get into the top 3 and a podium place possible. But he needs that to happen, and also to try and get past Carl Jones first to try and work together with him.
It seems like this front 3, when they don't battle for a few corners or when the overtakes just sort of naturally happen, the Payne and Jones can't quite cling on in those scenarios, and that's why we see that gap develop. But as they go 3 wide into this Senna Brundle complex, and Lyle coming out there in 2nd place, Harry Air still maintaining that 1st place. So it's a couple of times he's come out of turn 1 in sort of 2nd place, but absolutely that means for the tail end of the lap, he is actually then coming forward and being lead. And a rear tail end moment there for number 56. David Morgan onto the grass there, but proving that Caterham's a good rallycross cars as well as he rejoins back onto the bum hole. Lyle there just dipping his tyre over the edge. We spoke yesterday briefly about track limits. Luckily that didn't really come into play, but there are some automated sensors at these tracks which they've got to be careful not to trigger. If you do that too many times, you will get black and white flags, and we can see black and white flag there going out for some car. We can't actually see the number that is for, but we're into the tail end. 5 minutes left to go, Scott.
It's on the timing screen. Stephen Lyle, car 5, he's been given a warning for track limits, so keeps on transgressing, he will get a time penalty for that. He's got to be careful. So Harry Air continues to lead it then. Stephen Lyle coming back on the offensive here of Blair McConaughey. As we come out through right-hander, just sort of caught through the camera there. Those black clouds are rather ominous overhead, so that might be something that could play a factor later on this afternoon if those black clouds continue to form over here and actually create more of a rain shower. The right-hander, we still see Tim Steele and Fraser Jones having that battle back with our leaders. Still Air with Lyle now under pressure from McConaughey. And these top 3, as you said just then, they have started to pull away a bit more, but yeah, still with that battle for 4th and 5th going on. That seems to be a bit of a stalemate now between Jones and
just as soon as
Payne.
their battle sort of settles down into the natural rhythm, they do have a little bit of extra pace. I think Payne had that pace early doors, but just because he is stuck in that battle with Jones, he can't make it forward. But yeah, so Harry Air again, actually this time leading onto the back straight, which is probably not the place you want to be if you want to lead over the tail end. Maybe we're always making calculations in the driving seat. When I was in 2nd place at this point, where was I at the end of the race? So you're always trying to work out what's going to work for you in your car with your setup. Blair putting it 3 wide, sweeping around the outside with an absolute rear end hanging out. What brilliant car control there, but still sitting in third place. And with Lyle now out in front. So whereas Air came onto the back straight there in the lead of the race, he's now in that second place. But is this where he wants to be for the final lap of the race?
I thought Wes Payne was Mad Max. That was quite a daring move. He swung out wide to try and make a daring 3 wide pass into his brother. They probably realised at the split second after he made that, probably not the wisest thing, given that he's in contention for the championship. But either way, he's keeping in tow there. And still Wes Payne, I've noticed in the background, can't get past Carl Jones. He's trying as hard as he can to make it work. Blair now tucked in behind both drivers. Tries to pick 3 abreast, puts 2 wheels onto the grass. That was a really sweet.
Interesting. Blair were third coming onto that start-finish straight, and he was first going over the line. So it proves that if you absolutely nail your exit, you can make that. In fact, it's a complete swap for the top 3 there, with Harry Air looking like he might do it. But it shows that actually, do you want to be in the lead coming out of the final corner? If that's to go by, then you want to be in third place.
Yeah, so Blair's put himself into the lead now. So potentially, if he's now trying to engineer it so that he can be third by the time they gets to the line this time by. You might want to try and engineer it so he does that again, but he practically put 2 wheels onto the grass, I was going to mention, trying to get past both of them. They went 3 abreast up towards the right hand at Richie's corner, and then managed to get his nose in front and complete the move before he turned into turn 1 to take the lead back again. So incredible stuff from Brown to get in front, but of course now what he also needs to try and help out is these to carry on scrobbling. If they do, it'll be advantage Blair for the final lap.
It's only ever worked for me once coming third onto the start-finish straight and actually winning it. So you're a braver man than me if you engineer yourself into that third place, but given that evidence we just saw in the last race, well, maybe that is the way to do it.
We've still got 2 minutes to figure it out, and Blair's still got 2 minutes to figure it out whether or not that's the tactic he wants to employ. But he continues to lead, and that seems to be a pretty good tactic to me. So up through the right-hander goes McConaughey, Air, and Lyle. I think they've also just they quickly updated the time screen. I think originally they had it as Blair being third, but of course either that or it was a small TSL glitch with where he was on the timing screen. But they have re-put him in, and he was ahead by 0.06 of a second, which is quite advantageous. And now line astern into the complex. I saw in the background that Wes Payne was looking to go down the outside of Carl Jones to take 4th. We'll see in the background if he has or not. Yes, he has. So up into P4 goes Wes Payne, but still Carl Jones will not leave him alone, and it's been quite a bit. He's made a bit of a nuisance for Wes Payne at this point, so he's going to try and carry on keeping with it. But it looks as though the possible pace advantage now in clear air that Wes has might be good enough to try and basically cement 4th place, because he won't be able to catch the top 3 in this race. He's quite that far back. There he is in the kind of pearlescent car with the black striping on the nose.
Time for Lyle to find out whether he can get a nice tow out of the final corner and get over the line first. He doesn't, so McConaughey actually spent the whole lap in the lead that time round.
And sets the said he set the fast lap of the race, but then it was Lyle that picked it up just fractions later, and Harry looks to go around the outside to try and claim 2nd place for McConaughey as they go down towards the hairpin for the final time. And a big dive up the outside from Harry to try and make that move stick, but again just was way too hot and managed to hold on to 3rd place, but again has lost a couple of car lengths, which will certainly be advantageous to both McConaughey and also leader Lyle.
But it's not a significant enough gap. He's got plenty of straights there to pull that back, so that won't actually factor when we get down to the end of this lap.
And into the right-hander at Ritchie's. That's still the battle that's been going on. Also a race long between Jones and Ephraimidis. Into the complex they go again. All 3 cars are closed up once more through Agostini. Blair's got a slightly better off the corner, as did Harry. Yeah, the 3 abreast to Hamilton's, we know side by side to Hamilton is not wise at all. So I don't know what on earth 3 abreast to Hamilton is, but even so, it's come up with Stephen Lyon managing to hold on to the lead. Now, has he got enough of a small gap to stop McConaughey from getting a tow, or is it going to be strong enough if he drives it well through Williams, which he does? So there's a good chance for both McConaughey and Harry to get through. This could either end brilliantly or end in fireworks. In either way, here goes McConaughey to the outside. Which way will Harry go? Will he go the middle? He has to go the middle. He's got no choice. McConaughey gets the run, sweeps past on pure pace on straight line past Stephen Lyle. Then Air goes round the outside of Blair McConaughey as a result of that. So that was incredible. So Blair went round the outside of Stephen down the back straight, and there's contact. Round goes the championship leader. Blair McConaughey spins. So contact between Lyle and McConaughey, disaster for the championship leader on the final lap, and it puts Carl Jones into 4th at the moment, 3rd at the moment. Wes Payne's dead. He could beat him to the flag if he gets there. So Blair McConaughey quickly gets back onto the road. There's going to be discussion about that afterwards. That's guaranteed, I'm sure. Either way, into the final couple of corners. Harrier will head out the final shot with a brilliant slingshot to pass McConaughey while he was passing Lyle, and after the championship leader hit drama, Harrier took full advantage to charge the checkered flag and win race 2 of the Motor Caterham 7 270R Championship at Snetterton. It's Stephen Lyle second, and a sprint to for third between Payne and Jones. It's going to be... who got it? Jones, just by 7,000ths of a second from Wes Payne. 7,000ths denies Wes Payne a podium from, what was it, 23rd on the grid. But still, hats off, brilliant drive from Wes Payne to get to 4th from that one. Blair McConaughey will be a slightly disappointed and dejected 5th, I think, after that, and he will be frustrated, I think, by that result.
Your car going around that complex is on the absolute limit of grip, and you as a driver, it's your job to put it on the absolute limit of grip, and just that slight contact between the front of the Lyle car onto the rear of his car was just enough to send it spinning. We've seen it plenty of times before, and I'm sure we'll see it again, and it will be discussed after the race. But it was a shame for Blair. He's got a bit of a spin there, but he still maintains his 5th place, and actually overall, I don't think that's the end of the world for his championship. It's certainly not what he'd want out of that situation, but well done, Harrier, for that win.
Extra stuff from Harry to pick up the victory and to capitalise on a move that Blair made on Stephen to make a move on Blair with the toe that he got from him. So great strategic stuff from Harry, and it will certainly keep him in loose contention for the championship when we go to the next couple of races, the final 2 races of the season in a couple of weeks' time at Cadwell Park on October 23rd, 24th, where the face of the 270R title will finally be decided. So, looking back on scores, is that possibly one of Blair's worst scores of the season? So it might well be that might turn out to be a drop score, actually. Yeah,
I could imagine. I know he's obviously got a 0 he's carrying, but that could well be his 2nd drop score now of the season. That just shows the kind of season he's had. Is that he can actually drop a 5th place, which many a driver would love to take those 5th places, wouldn't they? But also, as he said, it's a shame that Payne couldn't complete that podium comeback, but the actual fight back through the field was pretty impressive to watch. So well done to Payne on that front.
Excellent stuff from Wes, of course. Now looking at the results, now 5th place you get 20 points, so actually that would have been a drop score. So, but looking at the results, he only gains back 1 point, I think, because his next worst result from that was a 4th place at Brands Hatch. So he essentially gets the equivalent of finishing 4th. He gets 21. He'll get 21 points. He'll have to drop 20, but he'll get back 21, so he essentially gains a point from the ones that he scored. So, Harrier then comes home with victory in race 2 here at a dramatic finish for the Caterham 7 270R Championship. Stephen Lyle second, Wes Payne... No, wait, hold on. Wes Payne's been given 3rd place by 1,000ths of a second.
We have a start line camera for exactly those situations. It could well be that camera has actually put him in front.
Wow, so the correction on the timing gives Wes Payne 3rd in the podium finish. So excellent stuff. So Wes Payne 3rd, Carl Jones 4th, and then it's Blair McConaughey, the championship leader, in 5th, with Alan Curtis, Dan Clayfan, Oliver Smith, and David Morgan, Darrell Cresswell rounding out the top 10. Then Wells, Ephraimidis, Fraser Jones, Tim Steele, Michael Curley, Richard Hall, Nick Allbones, John Cox, Paul Herndon, Cook, Mara, and then the 4 cars that didn't finish the race, which were McLean, Errol, Cameron and Gaunt.